2020 has not been a kind year.
I felt like the first day of the pandemic lasted a whole year.
It's like our socialization has been taken away, and that's human nature, is socialization.
On the flip side, there's still a lot of stuff people can't do, and I think people are just, they're done.
Could I say I'm hopeful that the future is going to be great for everybody? Yes, I would like to say that. But how long that's going to be, I have no idea. I thought to myself, what happens if I or anybody in my family get COVID, then what? Will we have mild cases or severe cases like some people were having?
I had read about it. I had looked it up on, I Googled it and looked it up, and they were talking about a pandemic. And I said, I looked up that word, exactly what it meant. And it was a frightening experience to know that this could happen.
Yeah, I believed it because, you know, viruses do come about, whether through nature, through science, when they're experimenting, doing testing or research. They, in labs they develop things so they can test them. So it's very possible that it was mismanaged and, somehow, got out and was transmitted, to the public.
Well, when I was first told about it, I think I was finding out through people at school or the internet, and I just thought of it as something that was going on in China. I didn't really think too much of it. Didn't think it was going to affect us as greatly as it did. I thought it was just kind of something people were overreacting to, and then, here we are.
This isn't real. There's no way that this is actually happening. And then all of a sudden we're social distancing and wearing masks and the whole country is shut down. I didn't believe that it was actually going to shut down our country the way it has.
Yeah, definitely a frightening thing to think about. What could happen, what would happen. Then you just thought, maybe hopefully it won't last long.
I remember hearing about it in January that there was one case like in the United States, but I didn't think anything of it. And then I feel like as time went on, like all of a sudden, like whatever date that was, March 13th or whenever everything started shutting down, I don't know, I feel like it was surreal.
When it hit full bloom, I know a lot of people were, I can't wait for 2020 to be over, but it's not like there was a magic button that, when the ball dropped on 2021, poof, it's gone. So like anything, when something happens, there's a process to fix it, and there's a process to, recover from it. No different if somebody fell down and broke their arm or a leg. You go to a doctor, they fix it, but it's not like after they fix it, you can go back to doing everything you were doing. You have to heal, you have to recover. Some people have to go for rehab to, gain strength in it again. So I think that's basically a process we're kind of going through. I'm hoping that this is the year we're going to be over the hump of going in the right direction. I'd like to hope that last year were the dark days, so to speak, and now we're coming out of that.
I thought it would last for a while. Whether or not I thought it was going to last a year, I don't know, but I felt that it was going to last a while. Where some people were even saying, oh, it's just a hoax, it's not real, it's going to last only a few months or whatever. I felt it was going to last longer.
I remember hearing reports that we'd be social distancing and wearing masks for an upwards of 2 to 4 years or something like that. But again, I never believed it. I didn't think that we'd actually still be wearing masks. Here we are a year later.
Didn't think it was going to be a problem in the States or even other parts of the world. I honestly thought it was going to be contained in China or in the small areas that it was contaminated to, and didn't think it would be nearly as widespread. So I did believe in it, but I didn't believe in how deadly it was.
I believed it from the first because I knew something was going on. They there were so many news reports and on the internet and whatever that something was going on. There was this thing in China, they were all wearing their masks. And then it was spreading, and I knew that we were in trouble.
I believed it at first, only because of the fact that there was a couple of people that I knew who were sick. They lost the taste, they lost the sense of smells, so I knew it was real.
I lost my brother. My brother Rich fell ill in the beginning of April of last year, and we didn't know what it was, whether he was having just heart problems, high blood pressure. You know, we don't know if he had something prior to that. When he did wind up in the hospital, they tested him. He did test positive for the COVID, and he did wind up on a ventilator and in the ICU, and then wound up passing.
I was having a hard time dealing with the loss of my brother-in-law. It was very hard because all of a sudden it was just so sudden. You know, we were told that, okay, you know, he's not feeling good, and we're bringing him to the doctor to have a COVID test, and next thing you know, he's in the hospital.
Few people through, you know, work and school that may have lost a loved one or had a loved one get sick, but personally for me, I did lose an uncle due to the pandemic, and that was hard. You know, he was to my knowledge, perfectly healthy person, and you know, with little to no time, the virus, you know, quickly did a number on him, and within no more than a week, it was done. So it was a very fast and aggressive thing that we had to experience, and it left us all shocked and, you know, at a loss for words practically. But, you know, it was impactful to deal with something like this. You know, definitely not taking what I have for granted. I'm being aware of what we have in front of us, and it's definitely opened my eyes to how we can cherish those things.
Well, I worry about my family members, especially the ones that have to go out there and work and be in the public with other people and possibly bring it home to their families.
I had to stop working because of my niece when she was born. I couldn't work because I couldn't leave the house. I couldn't go out, so I had to stop working. My job didn't close down, but I couldn't go. I had to protect myself and my family.
I was scared. I was scared for myself. I was scared for my family. I thought to myself, what happens if I or anybody in my family get COVID, then what? Will we have mild cases or severe cases like some people were having?
My daughter with intermittent asthma, I was worried about her. And of course, my son, of course, I'm going to be worried about him, even though he doesn't have any underlying conditions. But I don't think I was 100% afraid of the whole thing. Like I was, but then I wasn't. Like I was one of the up and down type of people that I believed that it was there, but I don't know.
For me particularly, I know I had issues with asthma and, you know, weakness in my lungs growing up. So hearing that it was more of a respiratory, you know, attacking disease or illness, I should say, it was very concerning. It was, you know, everyone keeps saying if you're young enough and if you're, as long as you're not over a certain age, you'll be fine. You could live through it. But then you hear stories about people who are your age and like are having trouble even breathing, dealing with it. So the early stories that we heard were a little scary and definitely led me to be concerned for my own health. But above all that, I have, you know, a mother that went through cancer and was just currently finished remission, and you know, that concern weighed heavily on all of our shoulders, I believe, not just mine, that there was the chance that someone like her who had a weaker immune system could have gone through such a long battle and then could then have to deal with such a thing like this at home. It was scary, and it was definitely something that we needed to all be aware of and take precaution of.
Especially for my wife, because she, you know, went through so many different health issues before, and her immune system is not like everybody else's. We were, especially cautious and concerned for her, to protect her, to keep her from getting it. But it also meant that we had to be careful not to get it, because we'd be bringing it home to her. So, it's, the same policy for everybody, that, whoever not only get it themselves, but it was so easily transmissible and stays dormant for quite a while before people know they have it. They could pass it on to a lot of different people and not know it. So the concern was, was real and genuine, and we tried to do as much as possible without being crazy about it, but to, do whatever we could, whether it was hand washing, wearing masks, sanitizing things. We took, whatever necessary precautions we could that made sense, to prevent from getting it or transmitting it.
I'm still living it every day. I'm still living the fear of contracting it, the fear of giving it to other people. Just because we've been in this for a long time doesn't mean we can stop being resilient.
We're not out of the woods yet because people are not being very careful. They're taking off their masks way too soon, and I feel they're opening up things way too soon.
I think that's the one thing that's frustrating too, is the irresponsibility with a lot of people. I mean, everybody's going to have their own comfort level. Everybody's going to have their level of what they believe. They believe the virus is not real. They believe it's no big deal. Everybody's going to have their own opinion or feeling about it.
Well, hopefully we're going back to what we know. I don't think it'll ever be 100% the same, because now we know of this, just the way we've known of different viruses that come along, and it takes years to eradicate them completely. I think we're going in a direction where the more people are either have had it and recovered and build up antibodies or get vaccinated, that it's going to hopefully be less severe for some people. I think also with the numbers, the more they get more numbers in, and the more that people that have had it versus people that have had mild symptoms to severe hospitalization, so on. Hopefully the worst numbers will be smaller percentages. But I think we've probably got another year ahead of us of heavy caution.
Definitely not going to go immediately back to the same way it used to be. There's going to be a lot more people more cautious of things. A lot of people now wearing masks going forward. A lot of people are going to be less crowded, not so much sharing things anymore. You're definitely going to see a shift in how people act towards one another in like the realm of society going forward, because nothing's ever going to be the same again. This is surely stained and left its imprint on all of the generations affected by it, and no one's going to go back to big crowds the same way with the same attitude as they did prior to this. Some might, but the majority of the people that are around aren't going to feel the same way.
There was a point where I was afraid to leave my house, yeah. Especially because we had a newborn in the house and we had to protect her. So it was really difficult to make the decision to even just leave the house for any reason.
I think I was more afraid to pass it along to my kids or Rich or Uncle Rich. That's, I think, what I was afraid of.
It is scary. It is frightening. And it is depressing. But you have to think this will end so hopefully soon, and you can't dwell on being like that. Otherwise you would be totally depressed all the time. And that's not good.
Over the last few years, I've been known to, be hospitalized for pneumonia, RSV, anything like that. And my first thought was, oh my God, what if I get COVID? Could I be hospitalized? Could I have a severe case of it? I didn't know what to expect. So yeah, I was very nervous, very scared with that, because I didn't know. This is so unreal, you don't know what to expect.
No, when my wife was in the hospital with leukemia, I was scared when it first happened. Compared to that, even like when I lost my job, we've been through worse. We had through more. There was darker times that we were scared of what was going to happen next. So I don't know if that conditioned us or prepared us for something like this, and we don't take it lightly. By no means do I look at it as something that's trivial, but there's the other things that have happened in our lives that I was more frightened over than what's going on now. But that does not lessen my concern to do what's ever necessary to take the necessary precautions to keep my family and myself safe.
A devastating blow to the already stalling economic recovery. 140,000 jobs disappeared in December, the overall unemployment rate holding steady, while Black and Latino communities were hardest hit. Nearly 16 million workers unable to work because of the pandemic.
The fact that my husband lost his job, he went from being furloughed to permanently losing his job. And, financially, it hit us pretty hard. It's like, he's still unemployed, still looking for a job. So just the stress of seeing what he's going through, I hurt for your father. I felt bad for your father. He was working for a company, the same company, for 30 somewhat years. And, I understand we were in a situation, the whole country, as far as this whole pandemic with the COVID-19. And, I knew things were going to happen as far as that, but I didn't expect him to be furloughed and then permanently losing his job. When he was first furloughed, I thought, okay, he still has a job, he's just temporarily let go. But then when they told him, okay, yeah, no, we're definitely letting you go, I felt bad for you. I felt very bad for him because no one deserves to have to go through anything like that, So I'm hopeful that he will find a new job. When that's going to be, I have no idea. But yeah, it was hard to see him go through that.
It was definitely scary. There was a point in time where my father, the main, source of income in our household, didn't have a job and wasn't getting any form of income due to unemployment not being cooperative with him. So it was very problematic at one point, to where we were worried about how we were going to get by day if things didn't get better soon, to the point where I even thought that things might have to turn to me and my sister for income at the moment if it were that bad. So it definitely put a toll and some stress on all of us, because here you are living your current life, and then everything gets turned upside down, and you don't know if you're able to keep living that life in the same manner the next day and a year from now. So it was very scary. There was a point where we just didn't know what was going on. We didn't know what the future had in store for us, and that uncertainty, I think, was the scariest part about it all.
We did struggle. There was a lot of companies that we have to make payments towards, whether or not it's the phone bill or the PSE&G bill or whatever, school tuition for the kids, doctor bills. A lot of companies, yes, they were willing to work with you. Some people said, send whatever you could, even if it's $25. But then there were some that said, no, you have to pay the full amount. So by doing that, it's like the account just dwindled and dwindled and dwindled. And yes, although he had applied for unemployment, unemployment wasn't kicking in. So financially, we were pretty low down there.
Not in a positive direction, that's for sure. I mean, the unemployment and the extra stimulus things they send and are helpful. The downside is that insurance outside of a company, it's really expensive. What I was paying for, throughout the course of a month, say, now to have the same coverage, which we need, because of my wife's medical conditions, is, double, maybe more, actually. And so it's kind of rough that way. It's still, an adjustment, even though it's going on a year. And I think the other frustration is the inconsistency of the system of once it reaches a period reaches its end, for them to replenish funds so that I can claim weekly like I'm supposed to and entitled to, waiting, 2 months because of a glitch in the system is kind of rough too. So that, again, it puts a strain on whatever savings that we had. And when it was rectified the last time this happened, we were okay, but now we're starting to go into that situation again where we're tapping into our reserves to just get by, waiting for them to clear, my last claim so that I can get paid what I was owed for the last 2 months, since it stopped.
If I had to say, if anything good came out of it, is the fact that every time my family do step out of the house to go food shopping or to work or whatever the case would be, they come home and they're not sick. My family has been very healthy all year round. I myself have been healthy. I usually would have been in the hospital a couple times, throughout the course of the year. So I have to say, it's like the good out of it is that none of us really got sick.
What's good is when I can see a person in my family in person, not just on a Zoom call or on a FaceTime or on the phone. When that I think is the highlight, when an actual family member comes to your door inside the house and you can get to see them. That has been, I think, the highlight of the whole year.
My whole good thing was that I was able to spend time with my kids last year when we were at a stay-at-home order. Like, I was able to be that stay-at-home mom for a couple of months, and I enjoyed it. Sweet taste of that kind of life. And that was actually, I have to say, going back to a previous question you asked before, that was very difficult for me to go back to work.
While I'm still every day concerned about it, it's almost like I've gotten numb to the feeling of the everyday COVID life. I'm just so used to it now that I don't fear going outside as I did, but I still am afraid of like the effects of COVID and getting it. I wouldn't want it to get it, but with things getting better around the country, as good as it can get, and things getting even better around the world, it does, like, that hope kind of like lifts that, it eases that, uneasiness, that frustration, makes you feel like things are really moving in the right direction, that things will get better.
A lot of people saying that the future is we're getting back to normal. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. I hope they're right, but I think that we're going to be wearing masks for a while yet, only to protect ourselves and others. I don't think it's over, and I have heard that there's going to be possibly more pandemics in the future.
Well, at first I was hoping it could be contained and not come over here, and then when it first came over here, hopefully I was thinking that maybe by the summer, like the flu season, that it drops down and might be eradicated before the winter set in again. But due to the people that were still going out, and being it was more highly transmittable, it became clear that we were going to go into another season of it. So it's going on longer than I was hoping, but kind of expected it to come into another year.
Some of my coworkers kept saying, oh, it's only going to be 2 weeks and everything's going to be fine and what have you. And I don't know. I feel like I had a feeling. And then every time they talked about another surge coming or whatever, I knew it wasn't going to go away that quickly.
I'd say our future probably looks a lot like this. I think we're going to end up probably being, wearing masks and social distancing for at least the next year, at least. I mean, we have a vaccine now, but even that isn't a surefire cure. We don't have a cure. We only have a way to potentially fight it, and that's only if everybody gets vaccinated, and only if the vaccine works exactly as it's supposed to.
No, I can't believe it. It seems so unreal. It's like, 1 minute our lives are normal and we're doing this and doing that. And then next thing you know, it's like, wait a second, we're going into a lockdown. People are losing jobs. People are getting sick. Who's passing away from it, And then a whole year later, people are still getting sick. Still people are getting, passing away from it. It's just so unreal. It's like, it's just, there's no words for it.
In the blink of an eye, it's a unique chemistry. Where to ride? We held our destiny in the palm of our hand. Then we let it just slip away. Guess I never will understand. Can't go back, my friend. It's a plain fact. You have your